Hey everyone, welcome back. Today's verse comes from 1 Samuel 16, verse 7. But the Lord said to Samuel, "Don't judge by his appearance or height, for I have rejected him. The Lord doesn't see things the way you see them. People judge by outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart." This is why it's so important for our heart posture to be humble and honest in front of God, because we can't hide anything from God. He knows our hearts. He knows everything about us more than we even know ourselves, because He already has every single plan laid out for us. So how much more could we think that we know each other than when we don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow? But that's not what it is about today. What we're going to be talking about today, it's about vanity and how we view things versus how God viewed things. So this verse comes at a time when Samuel was sent out to anoint the next king of Israel. We all know now that that was David, but at the time Samuel did not know who he was going to anoint to be the next king. So Saul was already a person of height, and he was a person that had a beautiful appearance, as is stated in the Bible. So Samuel thought that the next person, the next king of Israel, was also going to be the same, a tall person with a beautiful outward appearance. But see, the Lord does not care about how we look on the outside. What He cares is what's on the inside of our hearts, what He knows that we want. So He judges us by our hearts. He knows what's in our hearts. So He knows why He rejected that brother of David. So as humans, we often tend to judge by covers. We see a person in their worst day and tend to judge him forever based on that one action that they had that day. Or they may look ugly, or they may have a flaw in their face or their body, and we judge them for that. Regardless of that, that's not how God views things. And us as children of God's, we should be stopping this practice too. So we don't have to be the strongest or the smartest, the tallest, or even the most beautiful person in the world for God to actually look at our hearts and want us for Himself and want us to be His children. So, as someone who struggled with this and recently had a conversation with my friend, he called me that I was vain because I was worried about how I was going to look in front of you guys. And it was important for me to look good, but it's not really what's important to God. So while I'll still look at my outward appearance and I'll still obviously try my best to look my best presentable in front of God, that's not what the Lord has told me today. He told me that what He's looking at is my heart, and He's looking at each and every one of your hearts, not just my own. So to have a heart that is after God's own heart, that is the heart that He wants. That's why He loved David so much that He brought His son, Jesus, through the lineage of David. And if you look at the Bible, you will see that this is true. He loved David so much that He chose the King of Kings to actually come down from the lineage of David. But our heart posture is more beautiful to God than anything that we may look at in our outside. So it's time to really stop judging people by how their looks, by their charisma, by their material wealth, but actually start looking at what their fruits are. Are there fruits of the Spirit, or are there fruits of the flesh? So are they bearing love, or are they bearing hatred in their hearts? Are they a joyful person or a bitter person? Are they a peace given person, or are they a person that always wants discord, always wants the worst and make drama around them? Are they a patient person, or are they impatient in everything? Are they kind, or are they selfish? Are they good, or are they impure? Are they faithful, or are they disloyal? Are they gentle, or do they have fits of rage? Are they a person that has self-control, or is a person that is completely explosive and does everything in a moment's notice without even thinking or consulting God about those things? So if the Lord isn't vain, and if He's not vain and He's looking at our fruits, we should also be looking at the fruit of people. We should be looking at the fruit of the Spirit or the fruit of the flesh. And that will actually tell you what type of person this is. Now, the Lord can change anyone, and those fruits that they bore in that season does not mean that that's the fruit that they will bear forever. So it's very important to not be judging people, but it's very important to be self-aware of who we are and who we're dealing with. Not everyone that says Lord, Lord comes in the Lord's name. Not everyone that bears bad fruits means that they'll always bear bad fruits, but we have to be conscious of our choices. We cannot be vain and look at one thing and immediately cast out that person. If the Lord isn't vain, why do we think that we can be vain? Why do we think as children of God that should be emulating the living God, that should be living the way that he told us to live? Why do we think that we can be vain if he is not? So, judging by the looks and appearance of people is never going to be right. Judging by how their looks are on that day, in their attitude, in their fruits, by one day is not okay. If it's a constant, if this is a person that practices sin, if this is a person that practices self-indulgence, selfishness, impatience, and all those things, yes, you can move yourself away from it, move away from that situation, but do not cast that person away forever. Let the Lord deal with them, because the Lord has time for everything. So it is instead a call to worry about ourselves and worry about our heart postures, and show by our heart postures, by how we walk with God, that we can also be like he is. We are not perfect, but we can be made perfect through Jesus, who already sacrificed and gave us everything so that we can live forever. Our flesh will die. This appearance will die. Anything that I look like will die, because we become a new creation. What we see today may not be here tomorrow, and what we see there tomorrow may not be there the day after. It is very important for us to stop judging the outwardly appearances of people. God can change anyone in a matter of minutes, in a matter of seconds. It is up to them if they accept the Lord into their hearts, if they are willing to change their paths. Their outward appearance will not matter, because the Lord does not look at the outward appearance. That person could be going through their worst day, and you don't know it, but the Lord knows it. But they know their heart too. The Lord knows their heart, so he can change them so that they're able to walk in the light that we already are here walking in. So we already know the story of Genesis. That tree looked beautiful, that fruit looked beautiful, but what happens when we take of the fruit? It happened, the fall of humanity. That's what we're dealing with now, today, still today. It looked beautiful, it looked perfect, it looked nice, but what happened? The beauty of it caused us to fall. And if it wasn't for Jesus' sacrifice, we would still be in that falling flesh. We would still be away from God, just trying to get near to God, but never gonna be able to. Without Jesus' sacrifice, we would have never been able to come back to the Lord. So let us not judge by how we look. Let us not judge by how others look. Let us not judge by their fruits on that day, but let us be willing to forgive and look at them like God looks at them, for their hearts, for their heart postures. And maybe it'll take some time, but it'll be important in the long run. It'll be important because you didn't judge them on their worst day, but you did lend a helping hand in their worst day. Even if they're your enemy, the Lord served his enemies. Jesus served his enemies. He never stopped serving people. So why should we stop serving people? Why should we judge by how they look? Let's stop being vain, and let's start looking at what they actually bear in the spirit. Thank you so much for listening. God bless.